after the experimental phase of it, rolling this out as the way that we are conducting campaigns at Eco Integrity Alliance. We're here to put this out as an open source to win campaigns. You don't want to use it? Fine, we'll just use it and win campaigns. Welcome, Wild Ones. This is Josh Schlossberg, host of the Green Root podcast, the official podcast of Eco Integrity Alliance, where we're on a quest to uncover the roots of the ecological crisis. This episode solo, I am going to talk to you about a winning model for grassroots organizing. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of losing campaigns. Oh, so Josh, you're the one who's going to tell us how to win? Yes. And that's because Eco Integrity Alliance has come up with a model that has proven successful thus far, and if we expand upon it, will prove even more so. So basically, you can go to eco-integrityalliance.org/Ponderosa, and you can take a look at all of this information if you want to go on there now and follow along with me as you raptly listen to what I'm saying. That's great. Or check it out later, and you can find the links in the thing. So basically what I write in the article and what I'm going to tell you now with my mouth whole is that there have been a lot of successes in the past of organizing and a lot of failures. Yet there's no real agreed upon model for how to do grassroots organizing. The idea of getting average folks to exercise, you can say political power. I think it's deeper, it's cultural, and maybe there's even a spiritual component, but we're not going to get into that today, so never mind. But the aspect that the model gets into is, what if there was something that we don't all have to agree on it, but some of us can utilize that can enhance our campaigns, give us a structure and all that for both the organizers and for the advocates, activists, volunteers, whatever. Now, the way this is devised is it's not just for environmental organizing, but that's how I have applied it, and that's how I'm going to reference it for this podcast and is referenced in the article. Basically, the way we use it is for a statewide campaign. So keep that in mind, but this can be adopted and adapted and all that stuff. So why is it called the Ponderosa Pine Model? Do you care? Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. Because trees are pretty cool, they're a miracle of nature. Why not just call it the tree model? Because I didn't want to. No, because Ponderosa pines and certain other tree species have something called a taproot. And the taproot is a component that is essential to this model. So basically, like a tree, there are a variety of different parts, all of which are as essential as the other. So that's how the concept came about. So now that we're done with that, I will talk to you about these specific pieces. And if you want a more eloquent explanation, read the article. So like I said, it's at eco-integrityalliance.org/Ponderosa. You can check it out on Substack too. So what is this whole thing? Well, I'm going to magically put up a diagram right now. Okay, so you're looking at that diagram? Cool. These are the different parts of the diagram because they are different parts of a tree, in this case, a ponderosa pine. And this is a real tree, obviously, that I took a photograph of. It's in an area where they do log, but they didn't log this tree. And it is a big old tree. I would say it's probably at least 300 years old, I think. It's gigantic. There's no scale here for you to see, but trust me, it's a huge ass tree. So the Ponderosa Pine Model of grassroots organizing, there are different pieces of a tree and of the model. So I'm just going to give a quick rundown of what those pieces are, and then I'm going to talk to you about the pieces. So there's seeds, there are cones, branches, trunk, roots, and taproot. Those are parts of the Ponderosa pine tree and this model. Okay, so what is the taproot? Well, like with a tree, the taproot keeps it standing. So this is the main organizer. And yeah, it'd be nice if we lived in a world in which everyone took the leadership role, but we don't live in that world. I wish we did. I prefer to not do that. Although if things aren't being done the way I like, then I guess I end up doing it. So is that hypocritical? You figure it out. I don't know. But anyway, many of us don't like the idea of leaders. And in this case, it's not really a leader per se. This isn't the person calling all the shots. This is the person really holding down the basic tasks and facilitating the whole campaign. So that's what we call a taproot. It tends to be one person. If you got 2 people, 3 people, great. But it's probably going to be one person, and it's probably best in this case to assign it to one person because that's how we devised the model. So like I said before, this is going to be applying to a statewide campaign, but this can be for national or local campaigns. So this is, in this case, the taproot is the state advocate. So in this model, what we do is we break it up by the number of people, the time commitment per week or month, and basically the tasks that are involved. So for this taproot, we're talking about 20 hours per month. So that's 5 hours per week. So it doesn't have to be exactly this, but this seems to be the right amount of time per state campaign, or at least the minimum, whatever. So this means, yeah, it could be a paid staffer of an organization, or it could be a volunteer. So you got 5 hours. So maybe you're retired. Maybe you work a part-time job. Maybe you are unemployed or unemployable, or you just don't want to go into work anymore. So 5 extra hours. Do you have that? You might be a taproot. You're also going to want to have a knack for facilitating, being able to see the big picture, and maybe be detail oriented. We'll see. So what are the pieces of the taproot? So the taproot is the most complex here. So I'm going to have different sections for it. For the other ones, it's a lot simpler. So these are the tasks of the taproot. So campaign organizing, you're in charge of the dealio, and you don't have to do all the roles. You don't have to be great at all the roles that are out there, but you should at least have an idea of how those happen or be capable of them in case you need to guide and assist others. So that's the general gist of the campaign organizing. So strategy sessions. So this idea of on a monthly basis, you can do more often, but monthly tends to be best so you don't overburden people, is you want to get people together. It's probably going to be virtual, so through some sort of video chat service once a month for an hour. And you're going to talk about the local campaign. You get to know each other. There's going to be an agenda. And it's really important to have this component. And we go into more details in the article thing, but you want to facilitate the meetings so they move along. Everyone gets a chance to talk, keep to the agenda. And then the group has to vote on the most important piece, which is the 30-minute action. So a monthly 30-minute action. So what is that? Oh, I'm glad I asked myself that question. So the 30-minute action, this is the next section here, it's the heart of the campaign. So this is how to get folks on the same page while covering a variety of different tactics. It doesn't matter as much what you're doing every month, so long as you're doing something and you're getting people together on that. So there's some categories, we've broken it down into. So media, government, outreach, education is the third, and the fourth is social media, website, blog. So for media, you'd be contacting reporters, write and submit letters to the editor. Government, you can attend meetings, virtual in person, with agencies or elected officials. You can have call-ins, comments, sign and share petitions. That's stuff for government. These are just some examples. Outreach education is event tabling, like I'm going to do the Boulder Farmers Market tomorrow and I have to get up really early because they want me there they want basically be done setting up at 7:45. And it's like, what? I'm not a farmer. farmers market. Fine, the farmers can get up at the crack of dawn. Anyway, that's the thing you can do. Group hike, rally, public forum, flyers, and then their social media, website, blog. You can write a post, make a video, comment, like, share stuff as a group, paid ads to target local locations and demographic. So those are examples of 30-minute actions. They're really endless. These are just some categories that are helpful and maybe rotating the category. Do it however you want. I don't care. Then the other role of the taproot, the state advocate, is interfacing with government elected officials. So you're going to be the point person there. You got to be polite, professional, but honest and upfront. And most of this is going to be constantly following up when they don't respond to you. Or maybe that's just me. Public outreach. So the taproot is going to be one of the main people to get out there to talk to the public, whether that's online and in person. Again, other people can be doing these things. You're not the only one doing it, but you got to kind of be aware of when it's time to do something like that. So we do have some volunteers tomorrow for the farmers market, but it was my job to set it up, to pay the $50, although I didn't pay the invoice, and they are charging me $15 late fee. And I'm going to try to get out of that, because can you just do that? Can you just like say to somebody, hey man, remember that $20 you were going to get me back? Yeah. Well, now you owe me $35. And it's like, I didn't agree to that. You're not a loan shark. No. Anyway, so media is the other piece. You're going to be bottom line in the press releases, contacting media, and maybe soliciting some of the opinion pieces from others if you don't write them yourself. Ideally, you develop relationships with reporters, and guess what? Hold them publicly accountable for bad coverage if they don't do their jobs properly. No one wants to do that, though. Website, blog, social media, you're going to be posting. You're at least going to be managing this idea of all these pieces. And then communications is the last piece. So it's the most important, time-consuming, and least glamorous role of the taproot. So the idea, oh, you're this czar with this infinite, endless power. You're a secretary. Okay? Nothing wrong with being a secretary. Secretary is extremely important, but that's basically what you are. That's what I am. I'm a secretary. So you're doing email, phone, prompting, reminders, keeping track of the emails that didn't get a response. I swear that's like a quarter of every day. Like, did that person get back to me? Are they intentionally ignoring? Please, people, respond to your emails. If I'm going to put this on the record, I, Josh Schlossberg, if I email you and you don't want to talk to me anymore, please just tell me. I won't take it personally. I will never email you again, right? And obviously we have opt-out for our mass emails, but whoever you are, Josh again, I'm just going to ignore it or come up with an excuse and whatever, or just wait till he gets irritable and then pretend that's the reason I'm not responding. Come on, just be an adult and say you don't want to engage on the topic, right? Come on, just do it. Anyway, that's the role of the taproot. That is the most complex piece. You got to have a taproot to make this happen, just like you need it to keep the Ponderosa pine tree standing. Now, we're getting into what can arguably be as important or even more important than the taproot. Because if you just have a taproot, yes, it keeps the tree standing. But if you're just a taproot with no tree, you're not even a tree. You're a root. You're one root. It doesn't make sense. So roots are, I find, to be the most valuable as a taproot. Roots are just, it's just one crazy person without the roots. So roots are the folks who help the tree stand, obviously, and bring in the nutrients, etc. And they're going to be, in this case, say representatives of a county. So if you're a statewide campaign, you have some county advocates. And it doesn't have to be like this, but this is a way that it's worked for us. So like I said, do whatever you want, but don't come crying to us if it doesn't work. So 5 roots. So right now in Colorado, I believe we have 7 folks in 7 counties. We have one other. I think right now we're at 7 counties. We have a lot of doubling up, but that seems to be at least you need to have that for breadth and depth. And you can have more than one person who is from that county. Just that probably won't count towards your number of routes. So 5 of them at least, the more the merrier, man. And 2 hours per month. That's a pretty damn doable thing. Somebody who is essential to your campaign and all you're asking is 2 hours per month. That's 30 minutes a week, if my math is correct. So that's not a big deal, right? And here's the thing about that. The 2 hours is split up pretty easily. So one of those hours per month is just attending the strategy session. So you just come on a video call. You can turn your camera off and play chess in the background. No one will know. Just you attend that once a month. You don't have to attend every single time. You're just kind of, we're hoping that you attend most of the time at least. And so that's 1 hour, boom, just sitting there. Ideally, you would engage more, but you know what I mean. And then take that 30-minute action. So a monthly 30-minute action. Keep in mind, sometimes 30-minute actions, there's the secret of the 30-minute action. Don't tell anyone. Sometimes the 30-minute action takes you a lot less time. Sometimes it takes you a little bit more. But if you average the 30-minute actions over a year, they're about 30 minutes. So there you go. And we do try to make them about 30 minutes. And so you're down to 1.5 hours already through doing that. And then whatever your local campaign is, it's stuff that you're already doing, that's another 30 minutes. A lot of routes are already doing more work than that. Some of them maybe are already a part of an organization that isn't necessarily your entity. So there's people who do things for Eco Integrity Alliance that are either staffers for or volunteers for other organizations too. We don't need to claim them, but they are our county advocates. We count on them for the contact on that. So, and to hold the bottom line on that particular local area, in this case, the county. So 2 hours a month for these simple tasks as roots, and roots are so essential. So great. What's next on a tree? Well, let's go up a tree. Oh, okay. It's a trunk. So roots keep a tree up. Trunk is the main structure. I cannot tell you how important the trunk is. I'm going to tell you this about everything. Everything's important. Obviously, one builds upon the other, right? You're not going to have a trunk without roots because then it would just be a log. And so everything's important, but yes, trunk is extremely important as well. And these are folks who would take on the campaign's central task, which is what? You forgot the 30-minute action, right? So these are folks who don't need to attend the monthly meeting and they don't need to be doing other holding the line. They just take the 30-minute action every month. Star asterisk. Is it asterisk or asterisk? I don't know. Look it up later and dub my mouth saying the right thing. So the 30-minute action is something that is just asked of the trunks once a month, but you don't really have to do it every month if you can't, right? You're just being asked to do it every month. So you're going to be on a list where you're going to get, hey, since you're a trunk, would you be willing to do it? If you can't do it, that's okay. Don't demote yourself. You don't have to do it every time. Just know that you'll be asked. So that's basically all it comes to. That 30-minute action, which we've acknowledged is sometimes less and sometimes more, once a month. You try to do it once a month. Boom, you're a trunk. How many members of the trunk? Well, 10 at least. That seems to be what we want. So imagine this. Every month, 10 people taking this 30-minute action. And then on top of your roots, this is starting to make a dent. Branches. Okay. So let's say you don't have the time of the other folks. You don't even have 30 minutes a month. Okay. How about that 30-minute action every season? Every 3 months, you just take a 30-minute action. That's 10 minutes a month. If you don't have 10 minutes a month, just what's something that takes you 10 minutes every month? Don't do it. Whatever it is, don't do it. And then you'll have that time. Boom. Problem solved. But you do have that time. And maybe there's a month where you don't like it, or even a season you don't like it, whatever. Maybe pick it up the next month, whatever. But you're going to be asked, hope that you take care of a 30-minute action seasonally, and you want 25 branches. So here you start getting people who are taking less time, but there's more of them. So that's substantial, right? Correct. Cones. Now, I said that every part of the tree is equally important. I lied. So you don't need to have a cone on a tree for a tree to exist, but for the forest to exist, you damn well do. So a cone is about the future. And in the Ponderosa Pine Model, cones take a very brief, tiny, small action that can really empower the rest of the campaign, but is important. This is signing petitions, subscribing to the email list, sharing, commenting, liking posts on social media, just having conversations with advocates or other members of the public on these issues. That's the sheer numbers of this. So we need 500 cones per campaign. So this is per year. So 500 folks who have done, basically, if you get a petition with 500 signatures, you've accomplished this. And that's the power of this, is that let's say you go into an elected official, or you're trying to influence something else, and you're like, hi, we're a few people with some great ideas. They're like, we don't care. And you're like, well, we have an army behind us. They signed these petitions. It's actually 500 people are standing behind us, even if you can't see them. Boom. That is the importance of the cones to the Ponderosa Pine Model. Need the cones. What's inside a cone? Seeds are inside a cone. So my analogy is that in what might seem small in nature is actually super important. There's no future forest without planting seeds. So you can have an awesome tree. Oh, look at this tree. It's kicking ass. It's doing tree things. Everyone loves it. Then it dies. Okay, cool. Soil, good stuff, whatever. But then there's no tree to replace it without a seed. You need a seed. So Ponderosa Pine Model. Seeds. You look at a campaign blog, a social media post, a media article. You see a flyer or a banner. Your eyes look at shapes. You can handle that. 100,000 per year is what we're aiming for. So that's, you can get those numbers, say, through looking at your website or your insights there or social media. We blow past that. We didn't in the past, but that was a goal of ours because we were following the Ponderosa Pine Model of Grassroots advocacy. So that is why 100,000 is the goal. It's a big number, but just little drips and drabs. Go for 1 million, whatever. I'm just putting out a bar here. Are these numbers arbitrary? Yeah, kind of. But they do seem to have some legitimacy. And, that 100,000 people who have seen what you're doing, that's a pretty good start, particularly for a county campaign. How many people are in your county, whatever, your state, whatever. It's a beginning. It's numbers. Maybe we'll change that over time. But for right now, especially with the algorithms as they are, unless you're getting naked on screen or talking about something that's already popular, 100,000 is not bad. So that is the last piece of the Ponderosa Pine Model, because it's a tree now. It's a full tree. And you can take it apart if you want to, but I recommend you try this out. We are officially, after the experimental phase of it, rolling this out as the way that we are conducting campaigns at Eco Integrity Alliance. You're welcome to take it on. You can take pieces of it if you want. We don't copyright this, although maybe we should. Can we make money off of this? Haven't even thought about that. So next we're going to have the Ponderosa Pine Model of fundraising, because I don't think about that as much as I probably should. But we're here to put this out as an open source to win campaigns. You don't want to use it? Fine. We'll just use it and win campaigns. Are you winning campaigns? We're starting to. And here's the truth of the matter. Eco Integrity Alliance, we pick the most difficult campaigns that no one else is picking. So it's going to be a lot more difficult for us to win campaigns, but we will, we have been, we shall, we might, and we may. All of those things are true in a certain way. So if you have an easier thing to go against, let's just say you want to shut down this leaking dump in your area, you're going to win with the Ponderosa Pine Model pretty quickly. At the same time, don't expect instant win, right? Give it a full year before you step away. I was a part of something that actually, I'll tell you the origins of the Ponderosa Pine Model in 1 second. Wait, do I have anything to say before that? Yes, I will tell you the reason why after I say this. So the Ponderosa Pine Model is essential, but even more essential is a vision for what you're doing. So that final destination you hope to reach, maybe not even your lifetime, but that's the vision. And then the mission, the steps you're taking along the path to get there. Got to have those in place. Just a campaign around just a generality, it's not going to work. But once you have those in place, then you put the Ponderosa Pine Model to work. And then, man, you are going to be kicking butt, and or whatever positive analogy you would prefer. So as promised, been waiting with bated breath. Where did this originate from? So I was working with a community in a particular county, and this was the first time I had organized a specific county around a particular issue. And it was a little slow going at first, but then we got enough folks who were engaged, and we set up this public forum because media and elected officials were intentionally silencing what we were doing. So we set up this public forum, standing room only, and all these people were super upset about what was going on in the community, and they spoke up at the meeting. And then we kind of were like, all right, well, that's great. Good first start. Now let's keep stuff going. And basically I had the gist of these ideas in place, but not really super in place. And we set up a virtual meeting, and there may or may not have been some folks who were sent in there to disrupt it or whatever, but there was some disruption in it. Basically, there was an elected official who came in, it was campaign season, and wanted to be a part of our basically private organizing meeting. And there were several people in the group that were like, this is a politician. We will interface with the politician. We're glad for the interest, but they're not the organizer here. Like we need to interface with them. What's the deal? So they didn't end up being able to stay. We asked them, hey, we want to be in touch with you later. We're glad that you care about this. We're just a little concerned about that, or, and we didn't say this, but we're afraid you're just using this for, to get votes. And, some people had a problem with that, whatever. Found out afterwards, yeah, that's all they were doing, because they made no further contact with us whatsoever, even though we explained the whole situation. It's a pretty normal thing, whatever. So let's just say that was a mistake. I don't think it was, but let's just say it was a mistake. The other pieces were, here is what we're up against. It's very difficult. This is going to take a while. Each successive meeting had less and less people, and the campaign is still going on, but people got really discouraged because the local government intentionally ignored every single piece of information that was provided and wouldn't allow any real engagement, and continued to persist with just in this case, forced destruction, because they're already funded for it. Media, we did eventually get some media, but not as much as should have. And so people got discouraged, I guess. And one person contacted me, and I'm not sure. So this was somebody who stepped away from it, and I think they're very well-meaning, and I'm not sure if this was the whole truth or not, but I ended up taking it as the truth. But basically, it's just like, it didn't seem like there was a overarching structure to what we're doing. And I'm like, well, what we're doing has more structure than any other campaign I'd ever seen out there. But I kept that in mind. I'm like, well, maybe it would be more valuable for people to have a better understanding of exactly their role and, our overarching vision, etc. So I took it upon myself. I took that criticism in good faith. You never know, right? You never know if something is a valid criticism or just an excuse for people to not participate. I think sometimes a little bit of both. But I'm like, all right, let's say what this person is saying is true or even partly true. Let me put all of the pieces I've had in place into a more coherent structure that could be directly communicated to people in advance. And so that's when the Ponderosa Pine Model came about. I created the pieces based on things I'd seen working, things that weren't working. Some of this may evolve, certainly some of the parts, like what the 30-minute actions are and maybe the numbers, whatever. Maybe the roles as well. But that was the impetus. So it's a really interesting thing because when I got that feedback after a lot of people stepped away from the campaign, there's a part of me that was just very in denial and defensive because there were a lot of bad actors who were trying to stop what we were doing. But I even though it hurt my feelings and I think we were doing a very good job of putting things together, I said, well, what if we're not? Or what's the harm in still setting something up that's even better or more concrete? So I took a thing that was emotionally difficult for me, what felt like us doing a good job and people just giving up, because a lot of people were just like, we're not making progress in 3 months. I guess we shouldn't do this anymore. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's on them. I am not going to take responsibility for people who think that they're going to win a campaign. They've never been a part of anything like this before and they're going to win in 3 months. It's like the logging that they were doing was based on money they got in years before. Like this was all about the future. But anyway, I did that soul searching and I said, what if? Or maybe, well, now I'll have something, and if people try to use that excuse again, that's not going to be legitimate. If you don't want to participate in something anymore, just be upfront and honest. Hey, I don't have the time for this right now, or I'm not inspired anymore. Whatever, don't put it on the people who are like dedicating their lives to try to work on this stuff. If you have a better idea for how to do things, tell us, and we'll put them into place. But anyway, so that's the emotional, psychological origin of the Ponderosa Pine Model. And that's why it exists now. And we are implementing it. And thus far, we are off to a really good start. So in summary, go to eco-integrityalliance.org/Ponderosa, and you will find the Ponderosa Pine Model. I put some graphics together with colors, and you like colors, right? So that's cool. And then there's a summary on there. So there's the longer piece that describes the pieces. And then at the end of it, there's just a simple summary. So I'm going to go over this simple summary, and then you're going to go back to listening to a podcast or something on Netflix that you watched years ago, but you weren't paying attention to it. So you realized 3 seasons in that you actually had watched it and you just didn't like it. So I don't want to keep you from that. But if you would bear with me for another few minutes here. Summary of the Ponderosa Pine Model of Grassroots Organizing. We've got the taproot, the main organizer. In this case, maybe a state organizer. So this is one person, 20 hours a month. Tasks, campaign organizing, monthly virtual strategy sessions, monthly 30-minute action, interface with government, public outreach, media, website, blog, social media, communications. Done. Taproot. Onto roots. So these are the county advocates. 5 people or more. 2 hours a month. Tasks, monthly strategy session, monthly 30-minute action. If you can, please do. 30 more minutes for a local campaign. Boom. Trunk, monthly advocates. People 10 or more, 30 minutes a month. You take a monthly 30-minute action. You can do it. Branches, seasonal advocates. People 25 or more. Time, 30 minutes per season. Tasks, seasonal 30-minute action. Easy. Anyone can do this, right? If you care about this issue, you can do this. Cones, yearly advocates. So these are 500 or more people, 5 minutes a year. There is no excuse. There is no excuse to not do this. Sign an online petition, subscribe to email lists, engage on social media, an in-person conversation. Boom, you're a cone. You did it. Last, seeds. You're the smallest. Are you the least important? No, you're the future. You're the future advocates. 100,000 people, 1 minute a year. It's not even a minute to look at a thing. These are just views on blogs, social media accounts, media, stuff like that. That's it. That's the Ponderosa Pine model of grassroots organizing. It is a model for the environmental movement or whatever movement you're a part of to win or win again. Now, there is a caveat. If you are an evil cause, the Ponderosa Pine model self-destructs. So the tree falls on you and it won't work. So don't use it for bad stuff. And if you have a question of whether it's good or bad, you can email Eco Integrity Alliance and we will tell you if it's good or bad. But I trust you all to know the difference, and thank you all for listening to the Ponderosa Pine model of grassroots organizing. I hope that's cool. If you take it upon yourself to utilize it, great. If you just now get a better idea of how you might plug into a campaign, that's what it's really all about. It's about so the organizers can know where to put people, what they might do. I don't want to ask you to do things you don't want to do. And then oh, okay, here's my role. Oh, I'm doing too much. I'm gonna step back. All right, cool. Now you're this. Actually, I want to do more. Now you can become this. Hope this makes sense. Thank you for your time.